Hello, welcome back to the Sports Place, where if you like sports and sports debates, then this is the place for you. So recently, 35 bills have been introduced that would limit trans women from participating in women's athletics. So I want to know where you guys stand on this. Do you agree or do you support these bills?
See, I'm gonna go from my standpoint. Well, I'm not gonna say I'm directly involved in the LGBTQ community. My brother is a homosexual male, and my sister is a homosexual woman. So I do have not a say, but I've been in touch with this side of the topic before, and I do feel though everything should be always inclusive. Because if a person feels as though that they are a man or a woman from within, then who am I to tell them that they can't be what they want to be? Whether it's their genetic makeup or not, if they identify as that, we have to respect that, respect their opinion, because at the end of the day, it's not your life, it's theirs, and everybody deserves to be happy. But when it comes to certain advantages in sports, my main thing is does that person have more of an advantage than the other person? And if so, or if there are great discrepancies in the person, I'm not gonna have a person out there that's built like me going against someone who's $160. You know what I mean? If there are great discrepancies, then I don't agree with it. But if they're in an equal playing field, there's not too many advantages. And of course, at the end of the day, I'm sure that people wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it. So that's my opinion on the table.
So again, I'm somebody who believes that trans women are women. I think trans women should be able to participate in women's sports. Trans girls should be able to participate in girls sports. And I'm not just saying that because, I'm some liberal lefty and these are just my feelings. I'm going off of, what actual experts are saying. So, when you look at physicians like Dr. Eric Villain, I think is the way you pronounce his name. He's a pediatrician and a geneticist who studies sex differences in athletes. So this is his wheelhouse. And I'm just gonna, say a couple of things that he said. We oftentimes think that there is an advantage in sports generally because men have more testosterone than women. That's kind of the idea. And that is associated with a very small number of sports. So he mentions the 400 meters, the 800 meters, the hammer throw, the pole vault. But it doesn't explain this big difference, that people think that it exists. Now, Savon brought up, and a lot of them talk about, height and bone density and things like that. But that depends on the sport, so it gets a lot more complicated. So for example, a marathon runner, and this is just a quote from Dr. Villain, a marathon runner has an extremely different body than a shot put champion. A trans woman athlete may have some advantage on a basketball court because of her height, but it would be a disadvantage in gymnastics. So again, this idea that we're just going to ban people, in that case, if we're talking about somebody might have an advantage because of their height, that goes back to that idea that, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar shouldn't be allowed to dunk because he was taller than other guys. And we all see that that's ridiculous. If you want to play on the 9-foot rim, do that. But I think the other thing is, some people have brought up combat sports. There was a woman, her name, I believe, was Fallon Fox, trans woman who fought MMA. And Fallon Fox, people brought up this one situation where she really hurt this woman in the cage, and it was a pretty brief fight. But I'll tell you this, if you watch that fight, the other woman wasn't ready to fight. The other woman found out she wasn't a fighter.
I would say to actually watch the fight and not just look at pictures, because there have been a lot of pictures that don't show the actual fight that are attributed to that fight, where the girl was totally demolished, but it was not the same fight.
Yeah, I mean, that woman found out she wasn't a fighter, and she went in there and got beaten up by Fallon Fox. And Fallon Fox has actually been, she no longer fights, but she has actually been knocked out. Like some cisgender woman beat her up. You know what I mean? So, and can you imagine if a lot of these trans women who, by the way, take hormones to take away that testosterone advantage, got in there with someone like Amanda Nunes. Amanda Nunes will break their faces like she does, cisgender women. And again, coming out of training, they're saying that, Amanda Nunes beats up men in training.
I believe it.
And this isn't beating up me or beating up some other guy off the street.
Highly trained fighters.
Yeah, she beats up professional men's fighters at her weight or below. If they are her weight or below, she beats them up. And she is a cisgender woman. So again, when people make these generalities about testosterone and bone density and all of that, number one, it depends upon the sport, and number two, the other thing is if I'm a recruiter and I see that there's a trans woman who's just running an out of this world time, and she's already gone through the transition and she's taking the hormones, because if you have her and she's in 9th grade, and she's not taking the hormones, and not had the surgery, and she's running a fast time, I got an asterisk by that. You know what I mean? She's a boy athlete. You know what I mean? I shouldn't say that. She is running at she has a certain advantage. You know what I mean? I can get that because she hasn't,
took the step to
with the testosterone issue. We know teenage boys, their testosterone is ridiculously high. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like a little bit, I can see where those advantages might come in. But if I'm a recruiter and I'm looking at that, I'm understanding that. You know what I mean? I'm understanding that if I recruit that young woman who is burning everybody in the race, that she may not be the same athlete once she reaches me in college, because she's going to have to take the hormones or something to mitigate her testosterone advantage. And then for the woman who came in second, or the girl who came in second, I'm recognizing that I'm getting the exact same athlete. You know what I mean? Like, that's what she's gonna do.
Also, what you bring up track,
prove.
Remember I don't know if it was last year or the year before. Remember the girl, I think she's from somewhere in Africa, and she said they tried to test her because they said her testosterone level was too high. And that was how she naturally was.
Right, yeah. She's a South African.
She was beating people, but that's not her fault, and they were still trying to hold that against her.
This never becomes an issue until these women start winning.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, the woman that you were referring to, Caster something. I'm forgetting her name.
I'm trying to Google real quick.
The woman that you're referring to, first of all of sports, it's like, don't take drugs, don't, be a natural athlete. And yet they want her to alter herself, by taking drugs.
That's what I was going to. Like, it's just crazy how.
Say her name again.
Caster Semenya, if I'm pronouncing that properly. Yeah.
She is her natural self, and you want me to take drugs to alter myself
or get
to make people more comfortable. That's also like Simone Biles. They outlaw some of the moves she can do because other people can't do it. They're too dangerous for other people to do. It's not my fault that I am made this way and I can do these skills that I practiced at for years. That it's fair. You think it's fair that I can't do these moves to appease other people? It's not right.
I've heard the same kind of comments about Serena Williams.
Yes.
And who did she just lose to?
Yeah. I mean, you can look at someone like...
Not to knock Naomi Osaka.
Yeah. Naomi Osaka, yeah.
Yeah, no, she's amazing. So I'm not knocking her. I'm just saying she is very much not in question. She doesn't appear to be, high in testosterone, overly masculine or anything. She is very feminine. So that's my only point. Is
she just had a baby.
Huh? And she's a baby.
And she was playing while she was pregnant too, correct?
Yeah, like,
Wait,
yeah.
what?
Well, she played, very, very soon after having a child. I mean, look, if you want a participation trophy or you want to eliminate everybody who can beat you, you know what I mean? Then I think this is ridiculous. That's not what sports is about. You know what I mean? If I get in, I think it's fair, if I'm a box Savon, if Savon can get down to a weight that I'm at, I can't be like, well, he's stronger, so it's not fair. You know what I mean? He can lower his testosterone. I'm like, come on, man. Like, either you can compete or you can't. You know what I mean? And I think people are underestimating women, and this could go into a lot of, cisgender women, and this could go into a lot of different directions. I was just having a conversation with somebody about women in the military, and and people having these conversations.
Different technique. That's a whole different topic of the world, man. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
well, I won't get into it, but what I will say is, that's an American conversation. Women who serve in some of the most vicious military units, around the world. America's
is it North Korea or South Korea? They got the women as their soldiers.
I think it's North Korea. North Korea has some. And then you have the Mossad in Israel, some of the most violent, like dangerous people on the planet, and they're women. So my point is, and I think military people in the military are athletes because they use their body in their profession. I think that makes you a professional athlete. This idea that, number one, you won't look at certain things in context. And the fact that people are afraid that somebody's going to beat them. If you are an athlete, and I think you mentioned this, Savon, when I was younger in my county, I'll never forget, there was a woman who was a wrestler. And she wasn't the best, but she certainly wasn't the worst. And she pinned a couple guys. And that's a combat sport. So this idea, no one, told the guys, oh, well, it's not fair because, so you need to, lower your testosterone in order to wrestle her. You know what I mean? No, she went in there, she wrestled with boys, she trained with boys, and she beat boys. I think that it's just really problematic what we're doing. I think trans women are women. I think intersex women are women. And Caster Semenya isn't even a trans woman.
Nope.
She was born with a vagina. She is a woman. You know what I mean? There's no question. It didn't become an issue when she was losing. But until she started winning, then all of these Europeans were like, this isn't fair. And it became a big issue. So I'm on the side of, like Savon said earlier, I'm on the side of inclusion. I think that trans athletes should be able to participate. I think these laws do nothing but hamper things and say that women aren't as good as others at sports. Unfortunately, there's still people who are behind on the trans issue, and we gotta move forward on that, man. Like, y'all gotta get out of this 1950s mentality. And I'll tell you this, we're gonna probably get some dislikes on this one. So press dislike below. Subscribe to dislike more of our videos, and we can talk sports. Leave your comments. We would love to hear them. We'd love to hear about what your thoughts are on transgender athletes playing in sports. And hopefully we were sensitive in the way that we spoke about this to the LGBTQ community. We're in your corner. Sports Place.